say, suppose you're standing on a railroad track and suddenly a train appears coming toward you. This is not the time to sit down and close your eyes and say, there is no train in divine mind. No, you move, you get off the track, right? Spirituality and common sense is actually supposed to know each other, believe it or not. They're supposed to have, be good acquaintances. And fright activates the body and helps us to respond to a present danger. It's part of our physical survival mechanism, and it has its place and it has significance. That reminds me of a story that I came across. As a passenger, climbed into a taxi one dark, rainy night, and after they'd been driving for a few minutes, he leaned forward and tapped the driver on the shoulder. And the driver screamed and lost control of the car, and the car went skirting around and wound up hitting and stopping on a tree. And both of them, as they caught their breath, the driver said to him, "Sir, I'm really sorry. This is my first day to drive a taxi. For the last 25 years, I've been driving a hearse." I love that story. Now, the driver was not reacting only to the tap on the shoulder. He was reacting to 25 years of experience that told him that nobody behind him was supposed to be tapping him on the shoulder. And that's often how fear works. Sometimes something happens in the present, but an older experience gives it interpretation. The body responds before the consciousness or the conscious mind has any time to say, wait, I'm in a taxi, not a hearse. Fear is somewhat a little different in some ways, because fear it's frequently the mind projecting into the future a painful experience from the past. It's anticipating something that may or may not be there. There may be no train coming, but we can imagine one. We hear it, we see it, we picture it, we picture the collision, and we imagine the newspapers the next day. But before long, we are emotionally responding to an event that's not happening in the moment, and it may have never happened. Mark Twain is attributed as saying, I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which have never happened. Can anybody relate to that? You see, we've all lost sleep over conversations that never took place, disasters that never arrived, and problems that somehow resolved themselves before we had an opportunity to worry them to death. Charles Fillmore said, the mind imagines mountains of fear where no real cause of fear exists. So that doesn't mean that every concern is imaginary. It doesn't mean that we ignore danger, nor deny injustice, or pretend everything is pleasant when it really isn't. It means that we learn to tell the difference between what's happening now and what an old wound is telling us is about to happen. Many of our present fears are echoes of past experiences. Something painful happened. Perhaps we were criticized or embarrassed or neglected, betrayed, abandoned, bullied, or, yes, even abused. And that experience may have ended, but a part of our psyche remains on alert to try and protect us from that happening again. And then something happens today that resembles that earlier experience, and it may not be exactly the same experience. It may simply be similar in tone, expression, atmosphere, or feeling. Someone may not return a call to us. Someone may raise an eyebrow. Someone may say, we need to talk. Those 4 words have probably raised more blood pressure than a plate of fried chicken. The present event touches the old wound. And suddenly, we're not responding only to what is happening now. We're responding to everything that has ever happened like that and felt like that. See, our reaction may seem much larger than the immediate situation because the reaction is carrying emotional energy, or I call it baggage, from our past. And the nervous system says, well, here we go again. And the wounded psyche says, I knew this would happen. And our protective personality says, I'm going to shut this down before I get hurt again. And this is why we sometimes react really strongly and wonder, where did that come from? And it came from that part of us that's still trying to keep us safe. This is where compassion becomes essential. See, the fearful part of us is not our enemy. The angry part of us is not our enemy. The defensive part of us is not our enemy. Even the part that creates confusion or procrastination or self-sabotage is usually trying in some misguided way, perhaps, to keep us safe, to protect us. And it may be using an outdated strategy. It may react to danger that no longer exists, but it believes it's doing its job. So imagine a smoke alarm that became so sensitive it went off every time you made toast. The alarm is not evil. It's trying to protect the house. And it's simply lost the ability to distinguish between the house fire and breakfast. Some of our emotional alarms work the same way. A person disappoints us, and the alarm cries, I will always be abandoned. We may make a mistake, and the alarm announces, you're a complete failure. And someone disagrees with us, and the alarm shouts, you're under attack. The alarm is trying to protect us, but it's operating within information from another experience, from another time. And healing begins when we stop attacking the alarm and start listening to it with love. See, our usual approach is to fight uncomfortable feelings. It's normal. But we tell ourselves, I shouldn't be afraid. I should be over this by now. I know better than to feel this way. I'm a spiritual person. I shouldn't be angry. But when we shame ourselves for being afraid, we just add another layer of wound. So we're not only afraid, we're also in shame. When we are hurting and criticizing ourselves for hurting, when we're anxious about being anxious, that doesn't create a healing experience. It creates internal warfare. And we cannot frighten ourselves out of fear. Do you realize that? We cannot shame ourselves into love. And we cannot reject ourselves into wholeness. Martha Smock, who was the director of Silent Unity for many years, wrote that fear can sometimes seem stronger than thought, and that an emotion is needed to replace it. And the emotion that best replaces fear is love. Notice that she didn't say that we need a better argument or a better explanation. We don't need to talk ourselves out of it. Fear is not always looking for an argument. Fear is not looking for it's looking for safety. And the wounded heart is not always asking for an explanation. It's asking to be held. Scripture tells us that perfect love casts out fear. So what is perfect love? The word perfect can mean complete, mature, or whole. Perfect love is not love performed without mistakes. It is love without conditions. See, conditional love says, I will love you if you behave the way I want you to. And I will love you when you improve. And I will love you as long as you don't embarrass me. And I'll love you because you're useful to me. But unconditional love says, I love you even though. I love you no matter what. I love you while remembering who you are. And I love you while you're learning and growing. I love you in your strength and in your struggle. And I love you when you temporarily have amnesia of who you are. Most of us learn conditional love because the people who taught us love were learning these things also. And we don't need to condemn them, or for ourselves for that matter, but we now have the opportunity to choose a deeper love. The wounded part within us does not need less love because it's wounded. The wounded part of us needs more love. One of the books that really has helped me a lot recently is a book by Matt Kahn. Any of you familiar with Matt Kahn's work? He wrote an amazing work called Whatever Arises, Love That. Now, originally when I first read this, I thought he was talking about, well, whatever happens here in the world, just love it. And I think there's truth to that. But what I got as I began to really meditate on what he was teaching even more deeply, he was actually saying, whatever arises in me about what's happening in the world, love that. Love that place in me that is reacting to whatever's happening in the world. And that place in me that is reacting out of anxiety, out of fear, out of worry, out of anger, out of frustration, out of resentment, whatever, what I call catabolic energy it's reacting it from, is there crying out for more love. He has this wonderful meditation in the book that simply says, I deserve more love, not less. When fear arises, I deserve more love, not less. When shame arises, I deserve more love, not less. When I make a mistake, I deserve more love, not less. When I feel rejected, confused, angry, or discouraged, I deserve more love, not less. Not because every behavior is acceptable, not because consequences are unnecessary, but because love creates the safety in which genuine transformation is possible. Perfect love is the love that arises from our divine self and is shared with our human self. It is also the power that love with another person by loving the human part of them and seeing beyond the human and seeing and calling forth the divine within them. It's as Eric Butterworth says, seeing the allness within the illness. It's looking beyond the limited to the limitless. So imagine late one night you hear knocking at your door, your front door, and you open the door and you find a frightened child standing there in the rain. The child is trembling and crying. Would you say, stop that crying immediately, you're disturbing my peace? Would you say, you've been studying spiritual principles long enough to know better than that? Would you hand the child an affirmation and close the door? I certainly hope not. No, you would bring that child inside. You would wrap the child in something warm. You would say, you're safe now. I am here, and you're not alone. And this is how we begin relating to the wounded parts of ourselves. Every fear is like a child within us knocking on the door of our awareness, crying for the love that only we can give it. The fear is not necessarily asking us to obey, it's asking us to hear it. It's asking us to love the part of ourselves that once felt separated and alone. A Course in Miracles says, the Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. Instead, it seeks to remove the blocks to our awareness to love's presence. Love is already present. God is already present. Wholeness is already present. And our work is removing the barriers we have built against receiving and expressing that love. So some people feel uncomfortable with the idea of self-love. They fear it's selfish or self-centered, but genuine love does not close the heart. It opens the heart. And when I love myself, I'm allowing the love of God to be expressed as love for myself. And when I'm not loving myself, I am not allowing the love of God to express as love for myself. And so our work is really to learn not only to love God, but to love God and let God love us, through us, as us. If I continually look to other people to fill my bucket of love, I will always be trying to get something from them. I will need their approval. I'll need them to agree with me. I'll need them to reassure me. I need them to behave the way I think they should behave. I need them to never disappoint me, of course. See, that's a really tremendous responsibility that we place on another human being, isn't it? And no one ever signed up for it. As a matter of fact, it's a tremendous responsibility. Most people are barely keeping up with their email. How are they going to keep up with our emotional well-being? They're certainly not responsible. No one has ever signed up for that. But when we allow divine love to fill us from within, we no longer enter relationships empty and demanding to be filled. We enter with something to share. In Mark chapter 12:31, it says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And the teaching assumes a healthy love of self. So we love our neighbor as we love ourselves. When we learn to treat ourselves with patience, mercy, dignity, compassion, we become more capable of offering those qualities to others in our lives. So let me offer you a simple practice. When difficulty or difficult emotions arise, just pause a moment. And rather than immediately judging it, ask, what part of me is feeling this? Then notice where you experience it in your body, because that's where we tend to experience our emotions, right? Where are you noticing that? Perhaps there's a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or there's pressure in your throat, there's tension across your shoulders. Do not try to force it away. Simply bring your awareness to that place and breathe gently in it. Place your hand over your heart if that feels comfortable, and just say inwardly, I see you. I hear you. Thank you for trying to protect me. You deserve more love, not less. And I am here for you now. I love you. Now, you're not agreeing with every fearful thought that comes into your head. You're offering love to that part of you that is having that thought. And there is a difference. You can comfort the frightened passenger without allowing the passenger to drive the car, right? And that's probably a good arrangement because some of the frightened parts don't really have their learner's permit even, right? So something beautiful happens when fear is met with love. The inner noise begins to soften, the constriction begins to release. We become able to hear that still small voice within. Fear shouts, but guidance often whispers. When fear is dominating our awareness, every situation can look like a threat. But as love creates inner safety, wisdom can emerge. And we may hear, make that phone call, or set that boundary, or ask for help. Rest. Speak the truth. Forgive. Walk away. Well, I've needed to do that so many times. Try again. See, love is not passive. Love may be tender, and love may be firm. Love may be embrace, and love may say no. And I often have said it's one of the most loving things we can say to someone sometimes is no. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional access to our time, our energy, our total attention, or our life. We can love someone and maintain a healthy boundary, and we can forgive someone and still choose not to repeat an unhealthy relationship. We can recognize the divine nature within every person without volunteering to be mistreated by them. And healthy love does include wisdom. See, healing the wounded psyche is not usually a single dramatic event. It's a relationship that we develop with ourselves, and it's the daily practice of turning toward ourselves rather than abandoning ourselves. It's noticing the frightened child at the door and saying, "Come in, I've got you." It's recognizing the oversensitive alarm and responding, "Thank you, I'll check that situation out, but you don't need to take over the whole house, thank you." It's remembering that the presence of a wound does not mean the absence of God. God is present in the healing. God is present in the awareness. God is present in the courage it takes to feel what we once rejected or avoided. God is present in the love that we offer now to ourselves. And as we heal, something else happens. Our mask begins to become more transparent and we loosen, and we no longer have to work so hard to appear perfect. We become more honest, more compassionate, and are more available to life. And we stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And we begin asking, "What within me is asking for love?" That's a very different question. What is wrong with me creates judgment. And what is asking for love creates an opening, and love enters that opening. So this week, when fear arises, remember that it's not proof that you're spiritually failing. It may simply be a wounded part of you asking to come home. When anger arises, listen to the hurt beneath it. When shame arises, remember your scared worth, your sacred worth. I read that wrong. Well, you got to remember your scared part as well. You're loving that part as well, right? When anger arises, listen to the hurt beneath it. And whenever you are tempted to give yourself less love, pause and affirm, "I deserve more love, not less." Amen. You are a work of God. You are holy, You are lovable, and you are loving. Your human experience may have been wounded, but your divine identity remains whole. Nothing that happened to you has diminished your presence of God within you, and nothing you have done has placed you beyond the reach of divine love. The love you have been seeking is seeking expression as you, through you, and for you. And so open the door. Welcome yourself home. Let perfect love do its perfect work in you. And so it is.
The light of God surrounds us.